Hello, welcome to Stillness in the Storms, the 99th episode of my podcast. I cannot believe it's 99 episodes. Next week will be 100, and it'll be exactly 32 years since I changed my life completely by breaking my neck and ending up paralyzed. I'm looking forward to getting that one out next week. This week's podcast is about your little internal soldiers. And a friend of mine, I was reminded about this on a WhatsApp chat this morning. She's going through a battle at the moment with cancer, and they mentioned about the little soldiers working hard to protect her, and it just made me reminded me of something I always say about we've only got so many soldiers, and each day those soldiers are fighting for us. They're protecting us, they're our guardians, they're our healers. And yeah, it's a concept that I like to think, and it helps me make better choices in life. So I'm going to introduce you to that concept today about our little soldiers inside. But before we do that, I want to thank Deb, Martha and Jenna for your donations. There was another 2 anonymous donations this week, but thank you guys. You are awesome. You do make a difference. And I know I say this every week, but I mean it from the depth of my heart. These things are not cheap. And as everything's going up in the world and the money's so much more important for basic everyday livings, I just deeply appreciate every time someone treats me to a coffee or a virtual hug. So thank you. It helps me to get these podcasts out. So deep bow, much gratitude. Thank you to Deb, Martha and Jenna and the other anonymous ones. So introducing the concept of the body soldiers, the immune system cells. And can you remember when you were young and you used to drink lots and used to stay up late and go bed for 2 hours and wake up in the morning and you were bright as a button and you were ready to go for the day and you didn't have to worry about anything? And someone would come along and go, "Oh God, I got the biggest headache and hangover." And you go, "Yeah, I know. I don't suffer from hangovers. I'm absolutely fine." Yeah, there's a reason for that. And if you think about it logically, you're born with so many soldiers, and yes, you replace some of them and things like that, but they're so much healthier. You're doing better. So when you're 18, 19, 20, you have, I don't know, a few billion or a few trillion healthy protein cells that are your soldiers running around doing the work and all for you. But as you get older, they get tired. But not only do they get tired, they have more to do. They don't have to keep your skin all nice and smooth and nice when you're 20 years old. They don't have to repair your liver and fix all your little aches and pains and all your joints and all that when you're 20, 22 years old. But when you're 40, 50, and like me, you wake up in the morning and I open my eyes and I'm like, oh, should I even move my shoulders? My shoulders are hurting, my elbows are hurting. And probably my whole body's hurting, but because I'm paralyzed, I don't feel it. But yeah, literally, I don't want to move. And it feels like every joint is going to break if I do move. After a little bit moving around, I'm okay. But it's literally our whole bodies break down as we get older. Just look at our skin and look at our wrinkles. It's literally the fabric of our body just starts deteriorating. And every single organ in our body becomes less efficient. It needs the healthy proteins, it needs all these things, it needs all these things to repair. And it just doesn't have to do all that work. So when you're 20 years old, these soldiers don't have as much to do. It's simply at night, half of them can rest. Whereas me, my soldiers have got loads to do at night. I close my eye at 11, 12 o'clock, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning when I'm watching a program. And I'm going to digress for a moment. I'm going to tell you something. I've been watching Le Brie on, I think it's Le Brie, I don't know how to pronounce it, on Paramount. It's brilliant. I love it. I'm so addicted to it. It's been my escapism for the past 2 weeks. And I've got 2 episodes to go and I'm going to watch them later this evening. But basically a sinkhole happened in Los Angeles or somewhere and people fell through it. Everybody thought they were dead. And they weren't. And I'm not going to tell you anything else, but it's brilliant. And if we were allowed to share, I would give you all my password, but I would get in trouble for that, but I would love to do that. So it's on Paramount. I don't know if you can find it somewhere else. It's called La Brea. LA space BREA. Just brilliant. I'm loving it. It's really good. Anyway, let's get back to today's battles with the little tiny soldiers. I hope you didn't mind that a little. And I'm not sponsored by Paramount. It's just something that come into my head. Really enjoying it. A bit of gratitude to the writers and everybody. But going back to, for me, they have a load to do when I close my eyes and go to sleep. My body is no, I don't know, what would you call it? My body is no guardian or no, trying to think of some Greek god that's got pecs and my belly's big. It's just my body. Do you remember years and years ago, there was some kind of alien film and everybody thought, is it real? Is it not real? And there's alien thing lying on there with really skinny legs and a pot belly and all. That was me lying on that table. Trust me. That's what I think I look like. And everyone says, no, you don't. Well, trust me, I think I do. But because I'm paralyzed, my muscles are paralyzed. So I've got a big belly, can't get rid of it. It's like there. So when I go to sleep, I hope you're laughing with me as opposed to, but when I go to sleep, my soldiers have a lot to do. But when I used to smoke, they had a lot more to do. When I used to drink, they had a lot more to do. So if you think about what do your soldiers need to do when you go to bed? They got to fight the daily battles. They got to eliminate the bacteria and the viruses. They've got to make new cells. They've got to repair the sun damage from the sun. They've got to heal from any stress, mending the wear and tear on the chronic stress of the body. They've got to detoxify from unhealthy eating. They've got to break down all the food. They've got to do all these things. They've got to get rid of the toxins if you've been drinking or something like that. You think about all the different things these little soldiers have to do. And then they've got to repair the lungs. Let's say you've been smoking, like I used to do for many years. First thing they got to do is, okay, let's start on the lungs again. And then they just get tired. And because they're doing that, they cannot do other things. So you wake up in the morning with that hangover or ill because they've managed to clear some of your blood or do some of it, but they haven't managed to repair, I don't know, a bit in your brain or your heart and your liver and your joints. And after time, it builds up. So eventually they get to 11 o'clock at night when you go to bed and you put down your head and you go to sleep. All your soldiers have a little meeting. They go, seriously? We got to do the same thing again. Let's get on with it. I'm just tired. I'm fed up. They're probably all on minimum wage. They're not rewarded with anything. So when we do eat a salad or we do eat something healthy, they're rewarded. They're like, okay, what have we got to work with? We got salad. We got some nice protein. We got some nice fish. We got all these different things. Let's go to work tonight. We got some good produce. We got some good things. We haven't got to repair the lungs. We haven't got to clean the blood so we can repair the joints. And I'm milking this metaphor now, but wow. When you realize this, you like go, okay, is my action making things worse? So how do we support the soldiers? Adequate sleep. Let them get on with the job. If you're awake, they've got to be awake and they've got to do the things with you. They've got to keep your eyes open. They've got to keep you thinking. They've got to do all the other things. They've got to beat your heart faster. All the other things to keep you awake and all that, balancing and all that. Whereas when you're asleep, you give them a lot less to do. And then go to work on things that you don't need to do while awake, like walking or thinking or looking or doing all the other things. And balanced nutrition. Foods rich in nutrients empower the soldiers. They're like, brilliant, give me a bit of that. You go into a really good chef, as in a really good soldier inside your body. And you say to the chef, I would like some tea, please. And the chef says, okay, go and get me some ingredients. And we come back with McDonald's. What's the chef going to say? What can I do with that? What kind of goodness is in that? And, don't get me wrong, it's not just McDonald's before I get sued or something like that. I'm just giving it as an example of a healthy meal. And there is healthy versions of McDonald's. There is a salad and all that from it. But we know processed food is not that brilliant because the body has to do more processing. It has to literally get rid of the nitrates and all those other things in the food in order to process it and then use it. So it's an extra layer. Whereas if you're eating more organic and healthier food without all the nitrates and all those things, suddenly they're like, okay, we've got brilliant food here. The chefs, I can really cook up something with this. I don't need to steam it or do all the other things with it beforehand. I can just get on and use it and repair the body. And it's the same as the doctor. The doctor wants decent x-ray machines. They want decent materials, decent creams, decent medicine, everything like that. It's literally you give your soldiers what they need in order to repair. And we very often don't do it. And this little simple metaphor makes me think, am I doing the right thing today? But don't get me wrong, I don't always do the right thing. But it helps me to lean towards doing the right thing. Regular exercise, strengthening the ability to fight and repair. Just exercise, getting them going, exercising them and things like that really helps, I think. Not quite sure how, but it does apparently. Mindfulness and meditation, calming practices to support these healing soldiers, allowing optimal function. So during the day, if you spent 2 or 3 minutes out, just sat in your car before you go into a stressful situation or something, and you just went, let's just breathe. All those soldiers said, okay, you've just given us a little time out. Let's just go and catch up on a few things we didn't get done this morning while you're sitting there. And you just give them a little bit of leeway. You cut them a little bit of slack. And I think that's really important. That's where meditation helps people to be happier. Because these soldiers give you a feeling. If these soldiers are tired, they'll resonate that in you. You'll be tired. You'll be fed up. If they're fed up, you're fed up. It's that simple. Avoiding harmful habits. So just avoid the negative, harmful habits that the soldiers have to work twice as hard with. If they've got to process the food because it's got bad stuff in it, if they've got to clean the lungs every night, if they've got to repair your cuts and bruises because you've been playing Tarzan in the jungle and you keep falling out of trees. It's probably a terrible example, but you get my point. If you end up cutting and bruising and breaking your bones, and you're giving them more to do. I'm not suggesting do nothing. I'm not suggesting never have risk and go out and cut yourself. I'm just suggesting make a few more healthy choices. Help your soldiers out a little bit. You cannot complain about aches and pains and hangovers and tiredness if you're not giving your soldiers what they need to help you repair. Give them a little bit of time out and just take care of them. This is where it's serious. Cut them a bit of slack. Appreciate them. They're getting tired and old the same as you are. And I think with me, this metaphor just helps me to go, yeah, okay, I won't have that cigarette. I gave up smoking several times. My last time I gave up smoking was, 2-3 years ago. It's not easy, really difficult to give up smoking. And the way I did it, if anybody's thinking about giving up smoking, and this works for everything, is don't give up. Okay, you're like, wait, what? Yeah, don't give up. I'm still a smoker today. And if I fancy a cigarette, I don't have a cigarette, but I go, look, if I still want one in an hour's time, I'll have one. And then the mind goes, oh, okay. And then it puts it out of the mind. And then before you know it, 3 weeks later, you still haven't had one. That's what it's like for me now. But at the time when I started doing that, it stopped my brain craving it. And I could always go an hour without one. And then, first of all, it was an hour and I had to do it again. I had to do it again. And then it was 2 hours, then 5 hours, then a day went by. And before you know it, you're giving up, but without the craving so much. The cravings tend to go away if you leave it open the opportunity to have a cigarette. And you have to believe that if it gets really bad, you'll have one. But the chances are you won't. And it makes it so much easier. And that's the same with giving up everything. And if you make a mistake, you never give up anyway. So all the pressure's lifted. And this is the thing with the soldiers. They don't want the pressure. They don't need it. They've got enough to deal with. You think you're dealing with life? You imagine being your soldiers. They've got you to deal with, for Christ's sake. That's a tough one. I wouldn't like to be my soldiers. I wouldn't like to be one of them, let alone all of them. But what would my soldiers say to me today? They'd say, you're doing all right, Stevie, but damn, slightly less takeaways, slightly less processed food. Do a bit of exercise, a little more meditation, a little more chilling. I'm sure they would. And I'm sure they would always say that anyway, even if I'd done things brilliantly. There's always something a little more they can do, but I can certainly help. And I think it'll make a huge difference in your life. If you just see it in this way, just cut them a bit of slack. How can you help them tonight? Is this next meal something that they can use, or is it something they got to work on? I remember it was only last week, but I'd done a chili eating contest. And there was about 7, 8, maybe 10 of us. And I was sat there and I said to Stuart from the farmer's market about 18 months ago, I said, I'll do it. Yeah, no problem. I was up for it. But it was more to take part than to win. Now, I'm sure my 18, 20-year-old, 30-year-old self would have been there and would have suffered and would have gone through it in some kind of stupid egoic way. But I ate the first chili and that was hot. I ate the second chili and that wasn't too bad, and the third one wasn't too bad. And I think I said to Craig that was sat next to me, I'd never met him before. I said to him, so any tips? He said, well, just make sure you eat it all down, get on with it, and don't drink your milk too quickly. And he's never done it in the way that he starts from the coldest, goes to the hottest. They normally just get a load put in front of them and the first one to eat them all. So we started with the coolest, went to the hottest. And even the guy that grew them said, look, the coolest one can sometimes be really hot. If it is, I apologize. I've never done this before. I put it in my mouth and I bit on it and I had it down. I looked at Craig. I said, that was hot. He said, yeah, that was unusually hot. In his accent he was. And I was like quite relieved by that then, because I thought, if this is the lowest one, I'm never going to make 3. But the next 2 weren't too bad. And I bottled out of it then. I stopped. And I could have gone more, but I didn't. And I'll tell you why. The audience were all there. There must have been about 10,000 people. No, there was about, 30. But I'm not one to exaggerate. But what did I say? I can't remember what I said now. Oh, yeah. The compere came over to me and said, okay, are you going to bottle it? I said, I'm out of it. And I'll tell you why. It's because I care about my carers more than I do my ego. And I got quite a big cheer from the crowd then. That was quite nice. He did come back a little bit later because I stayed there for encouragement for the rest. Apart from the fact that I didn't know where else to go and sit, actually. There was no room. But he did come back and he said, are you regretting coming out of it? I said, no, not at all, because I care about my bum. And I thought about it. And years ago, I would have allowed my ego to get the better of me. But I thought about my soldiers. I thought about the carers. I thought about my internal things. What would I have gained if I went to 7 or 8? I would have suffered. But what would I have got from it? I probably wouldn't have won it. And even if I won it, there was nothing to win apart from, yeah, there we go. I can eat the world's hottest chili. What does it give you? It didn't give me anything. But what this did give me is freedom from suffering. And I've shown the crowd that I'm not driven by my ego. I'm quite a sensible person. And a few people come up to me afterwards and said, do you know what? That was a sensible mew. You were probably the most sensible one on the stage. I'm not sure about that, but it was certainly better than suffering. Okay, that story went on way too long for this single podcast, but it's a point. Look after your soldiers. Cut them a bit of slack. And when you're making decisions now, just think about it. How are my soldiers going to react to this? What are they going to be thinking tonight when they have their meeting, when they work out what they've got to do tonight? when you're asleep? Have they got to repair your lungs again? Have they got to repair your liver again? It's no wonder you're not feeling great in the morning. And I know many of you doing amazing anyway. Just do a bit more amazing for your soldiers' sake. Your little warriors that are all down there helping. So I'm going to say thank you to Deb, Murphy and Jenna and 3 other anonymous. You can help out towards the podcast if you would like. I've put all the links under one place, stevenwebb.uk with a V. The link is in the podcast underneath the show, and you can also sign up to the Weekly Calm newsletter, leave a review, whatever you want to do, but most of all, look after your soldiers. I love you. You are awesome. Have an amazing week.